Hello, welcome back. And so in this training video, we're just going to go over one of the methods of how to edit time data in UIPlanner. And it's very simple how to edit time data, or at least there's the one quick and dirty way to get things done in the model if you just need to change a few inputs. And for some of you, this may be the only method that you really need to know because of the simplicity of the report that you're changing, or it's just simply not a lot of data that you're changing, and so therefore using the edit time data is the more efficient way to go, because doing any other method would just be cumbersome and overkill. So the first one that we're going to go over is this edit time data. Now you can get there by simply right-clicking on the report and going here and click on this line item right here, edit time data. Now it'll bring up this dialog box and it might put it off to the side, but you can move it around and center it right here. You also just want another thing to mention here is that you'll notice that they have like these little quadrants that you can size up and down, and you can see how you can size them up to the left and right. I think there's another, nope, there's no one right here, but the reason why that's important is because when you first log in, you might see it like this, or something like onto that. And so you might have to resize it, and once you resize it and you leave it as such, if you log out appropriately, it'll remember this next time when you log in, and so you shouldn't have to mess with it the next time around. But for those that are new to the model, that you might have to mess with that a few times. Usually I just set it just short, little bit after the amount of cases that we have here. You might want to set it just a little bit longer, because sometimes we have more or less cases as we progress through different scenarios. For whatever reasons, we have more or less. And then this one down here, this box, this little bottom left quadrant, this one will actually sometimes get very large if you're working on bonds for those in the Treasury Department, or if you're working on regulatory assets. This is going to be a really long list, and so there'll be a scroll bar that will show up right here on the right side, and you can scroll through and find the regulatory asset or bonds or other entities that you're trying to change. In this case, for this example, we're just going to look at the one that's planning entity, which is a pretty small group, which all of these should be familiar to most people. We do have a couple in here that probably don't make any sense, but these are old information from when we implemented the model, and we probably could delete them later, but we just haven't got around to it. And so these are the legal entities. In UIPlanner we call them planning entities, but they are essentially legal entities. These are the entities that we roll up into when we report earnings and other financial information to BHE. And so this kind of mimics basically what we have on our ERP system or in our ledger. And so most of the time you're only going to be making changes to either Nevada Power or Sierra Pacific Power if you're only working on these in this particular entity group. So I just have those selected for right now. Now the other thing too is that here's the cases up here at the top left corner. So the thing is, these cases are labeled for what they are typically used, but technically you could put data in any one of these cases. Now, with the exception of the base actuals case, the base actuals case is only for actuals, and we can cover that a little bit later. Why this is important? Why do you put actuals here? And if you need to ever worry about them. But the each of these cases are labeled typically in relation to your responsibility. So as you can see, there's a treasury case for those that are working on treasury items. And we have capital, we have OMAG, fuel and purchase power, and taxes, revenue, regulatory assets. And sometimes we have these unique ones, like we have one mainly for forecasting. And so this is kind of, and the reason why we have a specific one is because maybe we just want to put all the inputs that are just related to just the forecast here and not affecting any other changes to all the other cases. We also sometimes have incremental cases, and these incremental cases can add to or subtract from any one of these other cases. We could talk about the order of cases later, but it suffices to say that the case at the very bottom is the one that wins over all of them, assuming that in this case, the actuals case, is being used for that particular period that we're looking at. If the actuals are not being used, then the one that supersedes all the ones is the temp case. But you have to turn your temp case on. So then that goes to the next one. If this is not on and it's not an actuals period, then this is the one that supersedes all the other ones. However, if there's no data in here, then it doesn't really do anything. In some cases, like for revenue, which this is a revenue report that we're looking at, Pershing and Hawthorne, there's probably only going to be data in this one case, this revenue case, and there'll be blank data pretty much in all these other ones, most likely. Now let's go ahead and just select that. We'll select the revenue case. Now I know it's locked, but we're not going to make any changes. But before you make any changes, you probably want to make sure, this is the first thing you want to check, is my case locked? And if your case is locked, then you'll need to reach out to your admin and have them unlock this case so that you can progress in making changes to that case. Typically, the admin doesn't want to unlock too many cases in fear that you may accidentally check like the tax report and put revenue items in this tax case when you shouldn't have. And so that's why typically when the admin is very strict about keeping cases locked and trying to prevent any user from accidentally putting information into the wrong case. So we like to systematically make changes one person at a time or one group at a time. So in this particular report, we have a few lines. This report is pretty small, and this is probably a good candidate for using the edit time data because there's not very many lines to change here. There's just a couple. There's some here for sales data, for some general revenue, fuel and purchase power, and then there's a total revenue number here. Now in this top right quadrant is the time setting. This is where you tell the model what particular area you want to change. In this case, because we're working in the 2018 fall plan, we obviously don't want to change 2017 anymore. So we want to change that to 18. And since we're changing from 2018 to 2028, right? So we want to put 11 here for the amount of years that we want to change. And because we want to change it by month instead of by year, we're going to put 11 here as well. Because we want 11 years of monthly. Now, if you put 0 here, what will happen is that it'll output to Excel a sheet that you'll be changing, and it'll show you just years only. And it'll just be like 2018, 2019, 2020, and so on. And because this box is checked right here for annual dollars divided by 12, any numbers that you input in the model by year, and when you say save, it'll divide all those annual numbers by 12 and spread them for every single month from January through December. However, if you don't want it to spread it like that, you have to edit it by month. So that means like if you have a situation where you have higher dollars or higher revenue in this case in like June, July, and August, then you would want to edit it by month and not by annual, because you'll get the wrong answer for the inputs that you're trying to make. Now here's a couple other selections down here. You have inputs. In this case, this will just show you all the inputs that are available. Now if you just want forecast inputs, it'll just show you forecast inputs. If you have actuals, then it'll only show you actuals. For those that are only forecasting data, then maybe you just want this one selected and not worry about actuals. In this case, this is what we're going to select, forecast inputs, because we only care about inputting forecast inputs. Now there was this other ones I just skipped over, I apologize, but if you wanted to simply just change one particular month at a time, you could. This is typically not used very often because it doesn't really change that much. It doesn't change the amount of time that you're updating information. It doesn't make it any faster, if you will, is what I'm saying. So simply just picking the time frame up here should suffice. Now, obviously, if you pick a longer period of time, it takes a little bit longer for it to output to Excel and then for you to edit the data, but it's really marginal. Now, there's some other ones here. It says, do you want the actuals for dollars with actuals? And what that means is it's just going to show you that these particular lines do have a situation where it can be override by actuals if you so turn that option on, which we can discuss later. But in this report, it most likely, if I remember right, this purchasing and Hawthorne revenue, it does not depend on actuals anyways. That is overridden by the ledger. Now, this is another one here is to show the line reference in Excel. This is important, I think, because when it outputs it to Excel, you want to see these. You want to see this E, F, I, J, M, N, just to kind of be helpful, just to kind of tell you, where in the model or where in the report it's showing. And if I didn't already cover this already, the thing is that in UIPlanner, as opposed to Excel, rows are defined by letters and not numbers. So just keep that in mind. Each row is not a number, it's a letter. In this case, in UIPlanner, it's actually referred to as a line, not a row. So you can see here that it's referred to as a line. Now you have to check the lines that you want to change. In this case, I already have them all checked. And we can go over these other buttons in another video, maybe. But essentially what these do is basically help you discover if there's any inputs already in there. And so here we'll go ahead and hit this edit and return button. And what this edit and return button will do is it will close this window and it will output to Excel what is already currently out there. And you'll have to make sure that your UIPlanner add-in is working. If you don't have or know of a UIPlanner add-in, contact your admin and have them help you install that, because you will need it. The UIPlanner add-in basically puts a UIPlanner on the ribbon within your Excel file. And it basically allows you to see all of these possible selections right here that you have. And it allows you to output this cleanly out to Excel. If you don't have the add-in, it's not gonna have all this color like this gray and yellow and kind of orangish colors. It actually will all be completely white and it will be nicely formatted. And I don't even think it'll work even if you don't have the add-in. So please make sure you get the add-in so that it works appropriately. So here you can see we probably didn't need to select the entity Nevada Power because obviously Pershing Hawthorne only relates to Sierra anyways. So here you can see all the data is blank as it should be. But you can see here we have data already in here for this model. And you can see we got data that goes all the way out to 2027. And so this is obviously data that we inherited from the prior plan for the 2017 fall plan. And the person that needs to modify this will have to obviously update 2028 and probably the rest of these numbers. And so what you can do is you just simply type in a number, or you can manually type it in there like that,